Nobody forgets the day when a beautiful dream suddenly turns into something strange and painful. For this mother, it happened on a warm afternoon, the kind of day when the sun looks soft and the air feels calm. She was driving toward the new house she had bought for her daughter, a place she believed would give the young couple a fresh start. She felt proud. She felt excited. She felt like this was going to be one of the happiest days of her life. But happiness has a strange way of stepping aside when trouble arrives. The moment she turned into the narrow road leading to the house, something unusual caught her attention. There were too many shoes outside the front door. Not 2 pairs, not 3, many, and not just shoes, bags, boxers, blankets on the porch, as if someone had been moving in all morning. She slowed the car, her heart tightening. "Why does this look like a whole family moved in?" she murmured. She stepped out, hoping she was wrong. Maybe workers were doing something. Maybe her daughter invited guests. Maybe it was nothing, but the closer she walked toward the door, the deeper the strange feeling grew. Before she even touched the door, she heard voices inside. Loud voices, busy voices, people calling each other from room to room like they owned the place. Something was off, terribly off. She knocked lightly, waiting. No one answered. She knocked again. Still nothing. When she finally opened the door, the sight almost froze her in place. A group of unfamiliar people were walking around comfortably like they lived there. One man was reclining on the couch eating fruit. A woman was spreading bedsheets in the spare room. Another older woman was giving orders loudly, pointing here and there, telling someone to move a cabinet. It was chaos like a marketplace inside her daughter's peaceful new home. Then, in the corner of the living room, she saw the one face she knew, the one that broke her heart instantly. Her daughter. She was sitting on a small stool with her hands covering her face. When she looked up, her eyes were wet and swollen. She looked tired in a way no mother wants to see her child. "What happened? Why are you crying?" the mother whispered, rushing toward her. The daughter shook her head as if she didn't even know where to begin. Before she could answer, one of the unfamiliar women shouted toward the other room, "Move their things out from that closet. Put our things there. This room is ours." The mother's eyebrows drew together. She gently touched her daughter's shoulder. "Is this his family?" she asked quietly. The daughter nodded weakly. That small nod felt like a heavy stone hitting the ground. The mother looked around again. Every room was being invaded, every corner filled with bags, clothes, and noise. It felt like the house was drowning in strangers, and not a single one of them looked embarrassed. Not a single one paused to ask who she was. She turned back to her daughter. "When did they come?" "This morning." The daughter whispered. "I didn't even invite them. They just showed up and said they're staying. They said it's normal for family to live together. They said I shouldn't complain." The mother took a deep breath. Disbelief washed over her. "You didn't say anything." "I tried," the daughter said softly, "but they told me they're family. They said I should be grateful for their presence. They made it sound like I had no right to stop them." Her voice cracked at the end. The mother sat beside her. Inside, she felt something rising, a mix of anger, shock, and a mother's instinct to protect. But she stayed calm on the outside. She didn't want to show fear. She didn't want the strangers to know she was shaken. Instead, she looked straight ahead, thinking, observing. In the middle of the noise and confusion, a quiet promise formed inside her mind. "This house belongs to my daughter. No one will take it from her. No one will make her cry inside something I built for her happiness." She didn't know exactly what she was going to do yet, but she knew one thing for sure. Things were about to change. The mother stayed seated beside her daughter for a moment, letting her calm down. She placed a gentle hand on the young woman's back, giving her a small sense of safety. But inside, the mother's mind was turning like a wheel. She had come to share a joyful moment, not to step into a storm. Yet storms don't wait for permission, they arrive, and you deal with them. Slowly, the mother stood up. Her daughter looked at her with fear. "Please, don't make things worse," she whispered. The mother gave a reassuring nod. "I won't shout. I won't fight. I just need to understand what's happening." Her voice was calm, but there was firmness in it. She walked toward the center of the room where the strangers moved around without care. The older woman, clearly the one giving orders, turned her head with a slight frown, as if the mother's presence was an inconvenience. "Yes," the older woman said, her voice sharp. The mother took a quiet breath. "I'm the one who bought this house," she said evenly. "I came to visit my daughter." The older woman raised her eyebrows. "That's nice. You can sit with her. We're busy settling in." "Settling in?" the mother repeated. "Yes," the older woman said, waving her hand. "We've decided to stay here. It's better for everyone. Families should live together. It's tradition." The mother kept her voice steady. "Who decided that?" The older woman gave a small shrug. "We all did. It's what families do. Your daughter needs help learning her duties, and we're here for that." For a moment, the mother didn't speak. Not because she didn't know what to say, but because she couldn't believe the confidence, the entitlement. She looked around. A man was opening her daughter's kitchen cabinets like they were his own. Another woman was dragging a suitcase across the floor. A teenager was walking upstairs without even acknowledging anyone. It was too much. The mother turned back to the older woman. "Did my daughter invite you?" The older woman didn't answer immediately. Her face stiffened. "She didn't need to," she finally said. "We are the husband's family. Our place is wherever he lives." And there, it was the truth. They believed they had a right to take over. The mother's hands tightened slightly, but she kept her voice calm. "This house belongs to my daughter," she said slowly. "Not you. Not anyone else." The older woman crossed her arms. "It doesn't matter who paid for it. She is married to our son. That means this home belongs to all of us." The mother studied her carefully. The confidence, the loudness, the complete disrespect. It wasn't going to stop unless someone stopped it. She walked back to her daughter, who was still sitting on the small stool, wiping her tears. "Listen to me," the mother said softly. "You didn't do anything wrong. You don't need to feel small in your own home." Her daughter shook her head. "They don't listen to me," she whispered. "They will," the mother said. "But first, you need to tell me everything from the beginning." So the daughter took a shaky breath and explained. She said they arrived early in the morning without warning. She said they walked in like they owned the place. She said they told her not to act sensitive when she asked questions. She said they told her to make tea, make lunch, clean rooms, like she was a worker, not the owner. She said her husband didn't say much, only told her to adjust. As the mother listened, a cold, steady resolve formed in her heart. Enough was enough. She stood up again, but this time her daughter grabbed her hand. "What are you going to do?" The mother looked into her daughter's tired eyes. "I'm not going to fight them," she said softly. "I'm going to remove them." Her daughter's eyes widened. "You can't, they won't leave." "Oh, they will," the mother said with a quiet, strong certainty, "but I will not raise my voice. I will not argue. I will do something they cannot ignore." She walked to the front door and opened it wide. The morning air rushed into the house. A few family members glanced at her. Confused, the mother stood tall, her hands still on the door. She didn't shout, she didn't plead. She simply looked around the room and said in a calm voice, "Everyone, please step outside for a moment. I need to speak with you." Some laughed, some frowned, some ignored her, but the mother didn't move. She didn't blink. She stood there with the quiet power of someone who knew she was right. One by one, they began to step outside, annoyed, but still obeying the authority they couldn't quite understand. They didn't know what she planned. They didn't realize she held the truth that would shake everything. Because once they were all outside, the mother knew exactly what she was going to do next. The mother waited until the last person stepped outside. The older woman went out with a loud sigh, clearly irritated. A young man mumbled something under his breath. Two teenagers stood with crossed arms as if they were being punished for something they didn't do. But it didn't matter anymore. The mother quietly closed the front door behind her, leaving all of them outside. She stood in front of them, her posture calm but firm, her face steady. She wasn't angry. She wasn't shaken. She looked like someone who had made a final decision. "What is this?" the older woman snapped. "Why did you bring us outside?" The mother didn't respond immediately. She took a slow breath and looked at each person one by one. She wanted them to understand her words clearly. "I called you outside," she said gently, "because I needed to speak without shouting. I came here today to see my daughter happy in her new home. Instead, I found her crying." A few of them shifted uncomfortably. The older woman lifted her chin. She was crying because she's young and sensitive. She adjusted. The mother shook her head slowly. "No, she was crying because you made her feel like she had no place in her own home." The old woman scoffed. "Nonsense. She is our son's wife. She should respect us and follow our way of living. She needs guidance." Guidance. The mother repeated. "Or control." Silence fell for a moment. Even the teenagers looked up. The mother continued, her voice calm but full of strength. "This house is not yours. It is not a shared home. It is not a place for you to take over. I bought this house for my daughter so she could start her life with peace, not so she could serve anyone." "You talk like you own everything," one of the men muttered. The mother looked at him directly. "I don't talk like I own everything. I talk like someone who knows exactly what she paid for." A quiet murmur rippled through the group. Then the mother lifted her hand and pointed toward the house. "I gave that home to my daughter. It is in her name. Every room, every wall, every corner. This is her space, not yours." The older woman crossed her arms tightly. "So, she is married. Marriage means her home is shared with her husband's family." The mother nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, family can visit, family can support, family can love, but family cannot invade." She took one step closer. "You arrived without permission. You ordered her around. You filled her home with your belongings. You made her cry on the first day of her new life." A soft wind passed through the yard, but the mother's words stayed heavy in the air. The older woman opened her mouth, but the mother raised a hand to gently stop her. Not rudely, just clearly. "I am asking you to leave the house today," she said. Gasps came from a few people. The older woman's eyes widened. "You're asking us to leave? How dare you?" The mother stayed calm. "You will leave because you did not enter with respect. If you came with love and support, you would be welcome. But you didn't. You came to take control. That is not acceptable." One of the younger men stepped forward. You think you can push us around? You think you can decide everything? The mother met his eyes without fear. No, I didn't decide everything. I just decided what belongs to my daughter. He opened his mouth to argue, but then something caught his attention. Something they all noticed. The daughter had stepped outside, quietly, and was standing behind her mother. Her face was still tired, but now there was a different expression, something like gratitude mixed with courage. The mother placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. This is her home. The mother said softly, her peace matters. Her comfort matters. If anyone hurts her peace, they cannot stay. The older woman's face tightened. So you're forcing us out. The mother shook her head gently. No, I'm asking you to leave respectfully. I don't want to call anyone. I don't want to argue. I don't want drama. I want peace for my daughter. She pointed again toward the porch filled with bags and boxers. You can take your things now. Once you leave, we can talk in a calm way about visiting, helping, and supporting. But today, she needs time to breathe. There was silence. A long silence. Then one of the men finally sighed. She's right. We didn't handle this well. A few others nodded slowly. The older woman looked angry, but even she could see something had changed. The daughter wasn't the frightened girl from an hour ago. She stood straighter now, beside her mother, drawing strength from her presence. The fight was over. Without another word, the family members began to pick up their belongings, reluctantly, but surely. The mother watched quietly, letting them move at their own pace. She didn't yell. She didn't insult them. She didn't shame them. She simply protected her daughter as the last bag was lifted. The mother turned to her daughter and said softly, let them go. We will rebuild peace after this. What she didn't know was that this moment was only the beginning. The real turning point was still ahead. As the family carried their bags off the porch, the mother put a gentle hand on her daughter's back and guided her inside. The house, for the first time that day, felt quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm, not peaceful yet, but relieved. The daughter walked into the living room slowly, as if she wasn't sure she was allowed to feel safe again. The mother closed the door behind them and looked around at the mess left behind. Bedsheets tossed on the sofa, half-open bags, dishes out of place. It felt like their noise was still echoing in the walls. The daughter sat down with a heavy sigh. I didn't think they would leave, she whispered, almost in disbelief. The mother smiled softly. They left because you stood with me. They saw you weren't alone. The daughter rubbed her hands together nervously. They're going to be angry, especially his mother. She doesn't forget things easily. The mother sat beside her. You didn't do anything wrong. Don't blame yourself for protecting your own home. The daughter leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. I'm scared of what will happen when he comes back. The mother paused. She had been thinking about the same thing. The husband wasn't home during the confrontation. He had left early for work, unaware of what his family had done, or maybe aware and pretending not to be. Either way, he would return soon, and that moment would decide everything. But about an hour later, the sound of a car stopped outside. The daughter stiffened instantly. He's here. The mother took her hand. You're not alone. I'm right here. The daughter nodded nervously. The door opened, and the husband stepped inside with a surprised expression. What's going on? Why is everyone outside? Why were they carrying their bags? He looked around the room, confused, then tense. Why is the house empty like this? The daughter swallowed hard. I asked them to leave. He blinked in disbelief. You what? Why would you do that? They came to help. The mother stepped in calmly before the daughter could panic. Help is good, but taking over someone's home is not help. The husband looked at her with frustration. You shouldn't interfere. This is between us. The mother kept her voice soft. No, it became between us when I found my daughter crying in the house I bought for her. The husband ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. They were only trying to make things easier for her. She doesn't know how to handle household work. It's normal for family to guide her. The daughter finally gathered courage and stood up straight. They didn't guide me. They controlled me. They took over every room, every corner. I couldn't breathe. He looked at her, and something in his face changed. He hadn't realized how badly she had been affected. Before he could respond. The older woman stormed back into the yard and pushed the door open. So now you throw us out like strangers. We raised you better than this. She shouted at her son. Her voice was sharp, like a blade. The mother stood between her daughter and the older woman, not aggressively, just protectively. We asked you to leave kindly. There was no shouting, no disrespect. The older woman pointed a finger at the daughter. She has turned my son against us. She wants him alone, away from his own family. The daughter shook her head quickly. No, I just want peace. I just want a home where I'm not treated like a servant. The husband looked torn, standing between his mother and his wife. His shoulders slumped slowly, as if he suddenly realized he couldn't stay silent anymore. Mother, he said quietly, you shouldn't have come without telling us. The older woman's eyes widened. You're taking her side. I'm not taking sides, he said softly. I'm choosing what's right. The older woman stepped back, shocked and upset. You will regret this, she said coldly, but the mother, calm and steady, spoke before the moment could turn ugly. No one needs to regret anything. This is not a fight. This is simply about space and respect. The husband nodded slowly. This is our home, he said to his family. We need time alone. Time to settle. Time to breathe. The older woman stared at him for a long moment, then turned away angrily. Fine, but don't expect us to forget this. She walked back toward the car. The others followed. The yard became quiet again. The daughter stood frozen. She wasn't happy. Not yet. She wasn't relieved. Not fully. But she felt something new, something she hadn't felt since morning. Hope. Her husband looked at her, guilt softening his expression. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't know it got this bad. The daughter's eyes filled, but not with fear this time. I just wanted a chance to feel at home, she whispered. He nodded. You will. The mother watched them, her heart softening. The storm was ending, but their healing, that would take time. She squeezed her daughter's hand gently. This is the turning point, she said softly. From here, everything can get better if you both choose peace. And this time, it looked like they would, but the story wasn't finished yet. There was still life after the storm. The house felt different the next morning, soft, almost like it was slowly remembering what peace felt like. Sunlight filtered through the windows, touching the floor gently, and the air felt lighter than it had in days. For the first time since moving in, the daughter woke up without the sound of footsteps, orders, and voices filling the home. She sat on the edge of the bed, breathing slowly, feeling the calmness settle inside her. It was the first real morning of her new life. The mother was in the kitchen, preparing tea. She moved quietly, as if trying not to disturb the silence. When her daughter walked in, she smiled warmly. Sleep well, she asked. The daughter nodded. Yes, for the first time, I really did. They sat together, sipping their tea. No tension, no fear, just the gentle comfort of being safe. A few minutes later, the husband came in. His expression was thoughtful, almost careful, as if he wasn't sure how to start the day after everything that had happened. Good morning, he said softly. The daughter nodded. Good morning. The mother simply smiled at him without judgment. She wanted peace, not distance. He sat down across from them, folding his hands on the table. I thought a lot last night, he began. About everything. The daughter waited quietly. He looked at her with a sincerity she hadn't seen in him for a long time. I didn't realize how overwhelmed you were. I didn't realize how much pressure my family put on you. I should have paid more attention. His voice was calm, but full of regret. The daughter spoke gently. I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't want to come between you and your family, but I felt trapped, like the house wasn't mine anymore. He nodded slowly. You shouldn't have felt that way. This is our home. I want you to feel safe here. I want you to feel respected. The mother quietly finished her tea, letting them speak without interruption. She could see healing beginning, small and slow, but real. The husband looked at the mother. I'm sorry for how things happened yesterday, he said. I should have been here. I should have protected our space. The mother shook her head gently. What matters is that you understand now. Marriage is not about one side controlling the other. It's about balance, respect, and peace. He nodded again. Then, with a deep breath, he added something unexpected. I'll talk to my family. We need boundaries. They can visit, but only when invited. They need to understand that this home belongs to us. The daughter's eyes softened with relief. Thank you, she whispered. The mother watched the moment with quiet pride. After the storm, they were learning to rebuild not with anger, but with understanding. Later that day, the mother helped her daughter clean the house. They folded bedsheets, wiped surfaces, and restored everything to its rightful place. But this time, the daughter didn't move with sadness. She moved with purpose. She was reclaiming her home. In the afternoon, the husband joined them. He fixed small things around the house, tightened loose screws, cleaned the porch, and removed the last traces of chaos. He didn't say much, but his actions spoke clearly. They were beginning again. A few days passed. The older woman his mother called once. Her tone was still sharp, but there was an unfamiliar hesitation in her voice. She didn't apologize, but she didn't shout either. She simply said she hoped they were settling well. The husband thanked her politely and kept the conversation short. Clear boundaries. No drama. No shouting. It was a start. On the fifth evening after the incident, the mother prepared to leave. Her daughter walked her to the door, holding her hand tightly. Are you sure you don't want to stay a few more days? The daughter asked. The mother smiled warmly. You don't need me to stay anymore. You're strong enough now. The daughter hugged her, tears shining in her eyes, happy tears this time. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. The mother brushed her cheek gently. You're not alone. You never were, and you never will be. The husband joined them, grateful and respectful. Thank you, he said quietly, for standing up for her when we didn't. The mother nodded. Take care of each other. That's all that matters. She stepped outside, took one last look at the home she had gifted, and felt peace bloom in her heart. This time, it truly belonged to her daughter. Inside the house, the daughter and her husband sat together on the couch. No noise, no pressure, just calmness and the promise of a fresh start. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Do you think we'll be okay? She asked softly. He wrapped an arm around her gently. Yes, he whispered. We will, and for the first time since moving into the house, she believed it. Life after the storm wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was peaceful. It was honest. And most importantly, it was theirs. A new beginning had finally arrived.